Morning, everyone. Morning. Shall we get started? How many of you have any orientation or any belief or disbelief in astrology? Okay, belief or disbelief? Belief. Is there any astrology practitioner here? Anybody who knows a little bit of deeper astrology? I know you, Vishwa. Okay, so which system do you follow, Western or Indian? Vedic system. Okay. So anyone else? Any idea? Basic question. How many of you know what is your star? Generally, they say, right? So you know your star, right? How many of you remember your birth chart? Do you have any idea what is your birth chart? Which ascendant or lagna you are? Okay. Okay. So only a few know a little bit of the basics of it. So what I am going to talk to you today is generally you normally see in the newspapers or TV channels where people talk about predictions, annual predictions, weekly predictions, daily predictions and stuff like that for people. And normally people attach a lot of value to those predictions. A lot of people base their whole life decisions based on whatever they see in the TV or in the print media, right? So today what we are going to see is just to get an idea of what is the overall framework of astrology. So when we talk about astrology, which astrological system or framework we are talking about, and how that whole system is kind of constructed, and then get an idea of where we can use the system. Whether is there any scientific basis or merit to this subject? Should we attach any value to it? Or if at all attach value, how much of value can we attach? And how much that can be helpful for us to understand what is going on in our lives beyond what we generally see in the world, right? So that is more of an introduction. I want to start this session. Just to give an introduction about myself. My name is Dr. Ramesh Thangavel. I come from the southernmost part of India. I started into astrology somewhere in 2017. I have a lot of time, so I just started learning after moving to US. Earlier, before that, I didn't even know what is my star, but I didn't have any background in astrology. So that's where I started. I have been working with data analytics field for the last 20 plus years. So I am a hands-on predictive modeler using statistical algorithms. So that is my background throughout my career. On business, we do a lot of modeling work. For example, when you swipe a credit card in a new city, sometimes it gets approved, sometimes it gets declined. So within 3 seconds, the decision is made by the algorithm. I work on areas similar to how do you build the algorithm so that the algorithm can decide whether to approve this card transaction or not. That's the kind of background. Hardcore statistical predictive modeling goes behind all these algorithms. So today, if you take any of the social media, any of the workflows you go, everywhere it is driven by algorithms. For example, when you watch something on Instagram, the next feed that you will get will be based on whatever you saw in the recent past. So like very recent history, that's what uses to feed the algorithm. In some algorithms are very long term. For example, credit score. What is your credit history? Whether you repaid it, how much of weightage should be attached. So all that goes behind credit history algorithm, right? Similarly, in everywhere, there is an algorithm. You like it or not, the world is driven by algorithm. Most of the algorithms are commercial in nature, which means they are not necessarily meant for your benefit, rather the benefit of who is running, who is owning the business. They can manipulate things, they can play with you, all of that. So today we are going to talk about a system which doesn't have any manipulations, which cannot be manipulated. Rather, it is more of a standard fixed rules that is operating in the universe. Coming back to my background, so when I started getting into astrology, I started approaching it more like a predictive modeling framework. So far, there has been no work. People talked about it could be the earliest form of data science, could be the earliest form of predictive models, but there is no evidence or no documented evidence that goes into details of it. How you call it, like a data science, ancient data science algorithm or something like that. Since I come from more of a statistical background, I started looking at things more like a statistician. Is there any merit? Because when you go and look in any of the media, whatever print or any media, people bullshit about that. And people give a lot of predictions and all of that. A lot of people have negative opinion about the subject itself. The first question they will ask is, you are talking about only 12 zodiacs. So there are 84 zodiacs in the world. So why are you talking only about 12? And in Western system, it misses an important, constellation itself. So those kind of questions will come. And then people, when you talk about keeping sun like a graha, so it's a graha is more of a Sanskrit word. So people translate directly as planet, and then they will say, you're calling sun as a planet. Sun is not a planet, it's a star. What are you talking about, right? So those kind of things are very common. You will see, especially people who are primarily into astronomy. So they are the one who will make that kind of a claim, and then they will talk about, the system is not good and all, it's all somebody made up the system without no purpose, right? Today, what I'm going to present to you is a little bit of a contrarian view, and then understand how this has been built, because this is a very ancient knowledge system. This knowledge system goes back to the ice ages. So when we talk about there are two ice ages recently in 70,000 years, why people need to start looking at the sky, why they need to connect their life with the sun. So all of that comes from the migrations that are associated with all the ice ages. Because when ice age happens, both parts of the poles slowly start building ice, right? Not just 1 year, thousands of years. So if you look at the last ice age, the penultimate ice age, if you go down south of Atlanta, till Atlanta, that part of the world was covered in the north. Imagine the northern side of the hemisphere, which has 67% of the land mass in the world, that gets covered in ice. So people are forced to go down south. So people are forced to migrate. So when people start realizing why suddenly things are happening, why we are need to move around, all of that, right? So that is where people started looking around the sky. What is going on? Sometimes we get summer, sometimes we get winter, especially on the northern and southern part of the world. So now if you look at, now we are in the summer. In few months, it is going to get very cold. So people started linking things, seasons and all of that. The seasons, when we talk about seasons come because the earth is tilted. On a tilted axis, when it rotates, the sun seems to go up and down from what we call a geocentric view. So when sun comes to the north, who people living in the northern hemisphere experience summer. It goes south, Australia experiences summer. So this is all that, right? So the very fundamental basic of seasons. So the earth on its tilted axis, when it rotates, it creates season. But what happens over a period of time is it's not just sun, right? People started linking, and culturally people started linking about moon, the next closest planet, what we call in astrology, so near to us. So all that people started linking different planets. People started, ancient sages started linking. Can this be linked to human life? Can we attach any relationship between what we do here? Because out of the 8 million species in the world, so we are just one. There are so many other species here. Everybody coexists here. So there is a life around here, right? So all of that happens, how we can relate our life with the planetary positions. That's how they slowly started building a system. So if you look at the Stonehenges of London and all of that, prehistorical period, it goes 9,000 years prior to Common Era. So which is we are talking about 11,000 years back, when the second, what is the latest ice age ends, people started moving across the world. That's when most of the migrations have happened. The first migration is when people started moving from Africa, going to the Arabian region, traveling southwards. Because when they go up, then they realize seasons start coming in, ice coming in, so they need to go down south towards the tropical region. So that's how people started moving. And people whoever went and settled, they were able to see a higher part of both sides of the hemisphere. People close to the tropical regions, they can see both north and southern stars. So that's how they started developing knowledge about the astronomical framework. So this is the ancient most knowledge, that's where they start. And when it comes to as a framework, astrology, like if you look at any of the astrological texts, you will see people started linking about family, prophet, king, all of that, right? So in the text. So what it matures at some stage, when it matures, we are talking about a period when there were no big kings, but rather smaller kingdoms. For example, a few villages could constitute a kingdom. So that's how people settled and then managed, right? So astrology starts from there. If you look at ancient texts like Parashara, Brihathora Sastra, so it talks about people in a working relationship, people assuming different roles in the society, what we call the four varnas. The four varnas later got diluted into more like a caste system and all of that. But on the core of it, if you look at, people were classified based on their skill set, based on their birth details and all of that. People were basically classified into what they are good for, what they can do well. For example, somebody can do really well in trading, like business. Somebody can really be a handsman. So those kind of things, and somebody can manage, somebody can organize. So this is the fundamental on which the society was built, because people need to depend on each other, especially so labor helps in survival of everybody, helps everybody, trading, all of that. So astrology starts from there. It starts in a family system with you have people managing the little bit of a smaller governance, and where people start trading and all of that. So that is the point on which astrology starts, and it talks about all the relationship in this society. Any questions on the origin? Okay. Coming back to my role, I have been working on looking at astrology more from a mathematical statistical framework side. Is there any merit? If you go and ask any of the astrologers, they will not know where. If you ask somebody, you know your star, but do you know where your star is located in the sky? Nobody knows. Majority of the people don't know. So I started delving into what is the astronomical data behind it. Is there any documentation? Can we put so that people can go verify themselves and stuff like that? Right? So that's what I started. And then slowly, when I start reading the books relating to the statistical principles, I figured out that a massive system of knowledge, elegant system has been built. And then I started writing about it. I started sharing that knowledge with people. And I primarily operate in the Tamil language community, because that is one of the minority groups which has lost a significant amount of knowledge, and that's where I am contributing. I started trying out few videos in English. There was not much of a response, because all the algorithms promote who is already popular. I'm not popular. So I started focusing on a small group of community, Tamil community. So today I'm going to share a few stuff with you. So coming back to the subject, so if you look at the knowledge itself compared to any other current predictive modeling algorithms, so this system has been built elegantly, simply, and anybody who is a subject can reasonably predict. Ideally, the system was built in a way that everybody should, with a little bit of effort, they will be able to understand how it operates. They will be able to make their own predictions about their own life and their relatives. Right? And you don't need any AI for doing astrology, but it still requires a good amount of mathematical calculations, interpreting things, connecting dots, and all that. Okay? So we are going to talk about what is astrology and not. And then we are going to look at Indian Western basic comparison. You can extend that to Chinese or any other system of knowledge. And we are going to talk look at a little bit of astronomy behind it, and then a little bit of stats side at a higher level. And if you take a system like Vedic system, what is the component of this Vedic system that we are going to see? And then we are going to look at how people are currently using, abusing, and then what are the areas people don't even look at it but has a huge potential. And finally, if there is any relationship where AI can be put into astrology. Right? So we will quickly move. I have a lot of content to cover. So as the beginning, we will use one system, Indian astrology. If you know other systems, you can relate to others. And I will also cover about the differences. Astrology, Indian astrology, typically there are three things that are talked about when we talk about astrology per se. People talk about astrology, people talk about numerology, people talk about Vastu. So these are all interconnected disciplines. All the three of them are very different in their construct. So if you take astrology, it primarily relies on birth details of a native. So you need a reasonably accurate date, time, and place of birth. So these are the four place gender. See, these are the four data points on which the entire system, unfolds. So these are like the primers of the system. Then if you go to numerology, numerology talks about numbers and name. If you take your name, you segregate your name into letters. You assign number to each of the letter, and then you add the letters, and then based on your birth detail, if your name is resonating well with that date and number, all that, and then they assign each of the number to a particular planet. So which means like one is sun, like that it will go. So basically it is a little bit different system. You don't need a birth time, it's a different framework. Whether you, most of the decisions are based on numbers, right? And the third one is Vastu. So Vastu is a different construct. It's mainly related to how you structure a building, how you structure a living area, whatever commercial complex or anything like that. There are set of rules to put together the structures. So that's what it follows. So when you come to astrology and Vastu, you normally hear about two Purushas. One is Vastu Purusha, the other is Kala Purusha. So in astrology we hear about Kala Purusha, in Vastu we talk about Vastu Purusha. So the one you see on the left is Vastu, the one you see on the right. This is more of a representation, Russian illustration. So you will see the one is where you start the head, and then it goes down. If you go down this way, Aries, start as Gemini, it will go like that. Finally, it will come in Meena Rashi, which is the Padam, like the portion of it. Basically, this is the structure, and this is the core of astrological framework. So Indian astrology relies primarily on this framework. In Indian system, this is a fixed structure, so which is anchored by the stars. In Western, there are no fixed place. The zodiac moves based on sun's movement on the equinox and all that. We'll talk about that. Okay, so this is the basic difference. Now coming to common misconceptions or myths about astrology. Normally when you go to anywhere here, people talk about, is it more like fortune telling? People just read or palm. The palmistry is a different altogether, a different structure. So we didn't talk about that. So people tell, okay, this is going to happen to you. Quickly look at, oh, you are this sign, you are this rashi, this nakshatra, this lagna. People simply tell that, right? So, but a proper astrological consideration takes into account all the planets. You know, it's not just about only your moon sign. It's not only about your sun sign. It talks about overall structure, what are the relationship between them, how it unfolds in the future, how it worked in the past. All of that comes part of it. It is also about philosophy, how one should live. So basically, there is a standard way of, accepted way of people living together. It's not about an individual, but rather living in a society. So there are certain norms. For example, you have to give and take. You have to respect. So those kind of norms. In a marriage, you have to honor the relationship. Look at, right? So all of that is overlaid on top of the astrological framework. And astronomy, this is one of the forgotten knowledge of the current generation. But if you look at somebody, an astrologer, at least 100, 200 years back, everybody knew what they are talking about. If they talk about this star rises on the east, they know what they saw, which part of the constellation they saw. And this is very important because if you look at the internet, you will see debates that talks about Mahabharata, dating of Mahabharata, whether Rama was born, was he real, was there any evidence? And we talk about in Tamil old literatures, people talk about what happened in olden literature, what time they talk about, right? So these are all part of the dating of the events and timing. So some of them goes back to several thousand years, right? So that is important from astrology. And psychology, when this is another part of it, people develop by experience. For example, when somebody comes and approaches you for consultation, there are certain things you can tell, there are certain things you are not supposed to tell. For example, somebody comes and asks you about death, when somebody will die. No professional astrologer will commit or tell anything about that. They will avoid the question or dodge the question, or they will only give an indication. Because we don't want to tell somebody something negative that could impact their life. And many times, even when the astrological things are not favorable, we tend to tell white lies just to give the person the hope of life. It's not about destructing somebody's life, rather it's more about helping somebody to have the hopes so that they can face the future. Okay, so philosophy, psychology, astronomy, you name all the core components, they are all involved. Coming back to Indian versus Western, so this is often confusion because the current, if you take current generation kids, they'll ask, sometimes in the school they talk about Western our kids we teach about Indian, they get confused. Who am I? Which star I belong to. So the difference here is basically about where your sun is positioned in the chart and what type of chart you are talking about and where moon is positioned here. And if you look at the fundamental difference, Indians, when we talk about star, we only talk about where moon is positioned in your chart. Which nakshatra or star it crossed, how much it has crossed in the constellation. If you take 27 nakshatra, 12 rashis, where your moon is sitting. So that is what we call moon sign. So typically Indians are moon sign. And then this also assumes importance because the moment you say moon sign, if you know how much degree moon has crossed in your chart, then we can tell what phase of life you are in, because we have something called a dashabhukti system which talks about the ups and downs of human life, and it will tell, okay, in which phase of life you are in. Are you going to face hardships or things, generally things like that. Western, Eastern talks about Eastern culture, it's not just a knowledge of Indians. This knowledge spreads across multiple countries. Japanese, Chinese, everybody approaches it differently. And in Indian system, it's more granular, the most granular part I would say. Others are little bit at a higher level. So this talks about what kind of person you are, how you will work generally, and what kind of future you hold, in the times to come. Western try to understand about a person. Okay, if you're a son, your son is here, generally if you profile somebody, these are your common characteristics. And then it lets you there, like you need to figure out what should I do with that. If I know something about me, what do I do? Western doesn't give you a lot of guidance. It asks you to self-explore. In Indian system, it tells you this is what you are, this is what is lying ahead you. If you do this, you will get into this. If you do this, alternatively you may survive or you may do better. So Indian system talks about both about potential as well as performance. Western talks about potential. It doesn't talk about performance, right? And if you also look at Western system has multiple additional planets, and then they keep on adding every new, anything they find new, they throw into the system. Indian system or the southern that part of the world, so they are more restrictive. They are more conservative. They just don't add anything to the model unless you need it. There will not be, you will not find anything which is unnecessary in the system. So basically, they use a minimum number of planets combinations, and they keep playing with it, and then they come out with the predictions. That's the first differentiation. Okay, because they are structured differently, you cannot compare two systems. For example, when they talk about aspects in Western, that aspects are very specific to Western system. It is not specific to Eastern system, right? So you have to understand. And when we talk about aspects as well, if you are talking about Vedic, you have a different aspect. If you talk about Nadi-based systems, they have a different set of aspects. So when somebody talks about astrology generally, you should not get fooled. You should understand which system you are talking about. So who is your guru? He also comes from a guru shishya parampara. So that's how people like. Now coming back to the comparison, major difference. If you see a Western chart, if you see an Indian chart, the planets will be sitting in different houses for majority of the people. Because if you take astronomy, the equinox is the basis of all the astrological framework. Every year, 20 minutes earlier, the equinox happens. Because of that, Western system doesn't have nakshatra in that. It only has seasons, starting at the season as beginning of the zodiac. So since they have that, every year their zodiac will start drifting. It drifts 72 years, it drifts by 1 degree. So if it compared to the Indian system, it is 24 degrees, 24 multiplied by 72. So what we are talking about Indian and Western were same, 24 by 72 multiplied that many years back, not now. So Western system is drifting, Indian system is anchored. It's just whatever is the primary point that is fixed there. So that is the whole constructual difference. That's what we call sidereal and tropical zodiac. If you are born 72 years back, you may be Aries 1 degree, but you may not be Aries 1 degree now. That's the basic difference. So because of this, sometimes a planet may be sitting in one rashi for you, for sometimes it may be sitting for in Western, it may be sitting in different rashi. If you take a Western chart, they talk about moon in Taurus, right? Moon in Taurus is different interpretation in Western. The same moon will be sitting in Aries for you, right? So that difference you should understand. So don't take the Western interpretations of any planets and impose it on you, because they said that's a different system. If you take cultural significance, in India, pretty much you go anywhere, everywhere, you will come across somebody who is making a decision based on astrology. You like it or not. You have to face it. Whether very simple decisions like, should I start the work, or giving your whole life to somebody, whether should I marry somebody on, this person or not. So it has a very heavy weightage, and it influenced the culture over thousands of generations. If you look at our own, we talked about the Varna system, right? Initially, the astrological framework figured out who will do the job well, what kind of job they will do. Later, it slowly, because after the big kings and all of them came, they started grouping people. So people started learning their own father's job. So it slowly drifted away from skill-based society to more of a caste-based society, which we are still struggling because of that. Because if you look at any caste, people from different castes can perform different type of job very well. So ideally, people should be grouped based on their skill sets, not based on their caste. So this is where astrology actually got diluted or overtaken by people. So that is a major difference you have to understand. In Western, astrology is more of personal exploration. Try to understand yourself, no remedies or anything like that. So this context is important. So now we are going to get into the core part of it, which is more like what is astronomy? What we talk about from a scientific perspective, right? We'll talk a little bit about what our ancient sages have to say about the universe. Basically, if you look at Vedic astrology, it is a model of the universe. If you take the 4 Vedas, in different part of the Veda, if you go, there are certain sections which talks about what is this universe, where it all came from. Because any intelligent person will, at least at some point of their life, they will, when they look at it, they will realize, what am I doing here? Why am I doing here? Why did it come to here? Why am I in the society? Why am I struggling with so many people? Where we all came from, right? So that is the knowledge everybody will want to seek. Let me step back. So how many of you, when you step out in the evening, how many of you look at the sky? Okay. Are you able to identify any planets or any of the, except moon? Have you seen moon closely every year? Have you seen it for at least in a year, daily, where it comes, where it sets, which part of the sky? If you are not, at least I would suggest you start looking at the sky, right? Every day. Just to say, like randomly at some point of time, for example, 8 o'clock in the night, just go look at the sky just above. You don't even need to look at everywhere. Look at above and then see what you are seeing there, which part of the sky you are seeing. If you look at the sky, there are 6,000 stars you can see on bare eye. Without any binocular. With the binocular, you can see more. So, but when you look at the 6,000 spots, none of the spots move. None of the stars move. They move like this, but they don't move fast. Only the 7 planets that we talk about, only these planets move. Only 6. So other planets, they all look like a star only. For example, if you look at a Jupiter, if you look at Venus, they all look like star only in naked eye. Only those 6 spots move. This is a very magnificent observation, right? If somebody has to understand out of 6,000, only 6 move, how much of time they should have spent to watch and then find out, where they move. And when they move, they don't move everywhere in the, whatever we see in the 180 degree we see. So they move on a particular band. This is only what we can see from here in the earth. So this statement, what you are seeing here, this is about a 9th century Common Era. So somebody talks about how the whole universe will look like. It is part of the Sakam, is one of the very sacred texts in Saivite literature. So he talks about when you go and look in the universe, it looks like there are billions of galaxies there. They all look, they all look very awesome. They're very bright and beautiful. They all in a dance. That's what he says in this text. So this is told in 9th century. So now what we figured out with the help of the James Webb telescope, whatever he said, this is a pictorial representation of that particular verse. You can see here, this is only one part of it. So one part of the universe that is captured, each of the dot you see is a galaxy. And we are one of just one of a very smaller galaxies. We are not even big anywhere in this picture. So if you look at where the entire galaxy framework where we fit, it will be the small dot that you see here, right? So this is the galaxy, the entire galaxy where we are part of. And this is not a full picture. We call this as a great Laniakea cluster. This is a great attractor. So the cluster itself is expanding, dancing, all of that. It is doing over a period of time, billions of years. Our life, not even 100 years, right? So now let us go deep into our own galaxy. If you look at the Milky Way galaxy, so we are it goes in this circle, right? So, and then the previous text, what he talks about was the galaxy, the entire plane looks like a discus. Disc means the middle will be bulged, the edge will be tapering towards the edge. So that's what he talks about in the text. So if you look at our galaxy, it perfectly, whatever he describes, it fits to that. And then if you look at the sun, where we have the sun spotted there, Orion spur, so that I have enlarged that part of it. And then if you keep sun, and you go by light years, every light year, so this goes like that. So we are on part of the Perseus, Sam, and Orion spur we call. Astrology talks about, at the highest level, only a very small circle of this Milky Way galaxy. We talk about stars, different stars we are going to see. The stars are on distant location. Farthest star we talk about is about 1950 light years away from us. The closest one is about 35 light years. Light years, you understand, right? So light traveling at its speed, if it travels for 1 year, how much time it will be? So we are talking about celestial objects which are far beyond anybody's reach in their lifetime or collective lifetime of the entire human being. So this is the framework, this is the boundary at which astrology stops. Okay? Yeah, the red circle, yeah, this is a circle. Those of you who, if you want to understand a little bit of astronomy, if you want to explore, because when you go and look in the sky, you may not know what you're looking at, right? So there are 3 apps, and I would recommend if you can take these, download this app. Basically, every phone has something called a gyrometer. You want to calibrate it from your location, you can look at it, and then you can see which object you are seeing. And then if you want to search some object, you can search, and then it will show you, move your phone this way. So you can move, and you have seen it, right? So you can see that. So this is just for you so that you can connect yourself with the sky. When we look at the sky, right, the zodiac, everybody see is not same, because if you are seeing from the tropical region, the sky will look different for you. If you look at from the northern hemisphere, the sky will look different for you. So Chinese will look at the sky will look different. You go to Australia, the sky will look different. So that's why I am telling you, you watch the moon for a year. You will see the moon going throughout, if you see your house as the point of view, and then from here you will see moon everywhere in the sky. You will not see any other planet like that, right? Because moon moves up and down 5.5 degrees with the earth tilt. You will see that moon going, wandering, or they call in Tamil, right? So it's all over, the moon is traveling everywhere in the sky, right? That's what they would say. So because people constructed it from different parts of the world, everybody saw different part of the zodiac, all of that. This shared knowledge over the time, we are talking about a knowledge probably originated some 11,000 years ago, and then spread and then developed within the regions their own way of approaching things. The cultures will define it differently. For example, Chinese will call a year, people born in this year are rabbits, something like that, right? So that's a different setup. So the zodiac, whatever you see here in any of the astrology channel, some of them may be Western, even Vedic, they call Vedic, but the symbols are different, okay? So now, because this is different, you should see which map, which figure you are talking about. Now, let us look at the images, how it will look like. This is Western, this is not Indian. If you look at, this is how the imaginary lines they talk about. When they talk about Aries, Taurus, all of that. So this is what they talk about. Basically, they connect certain set of stars in the sky to draw images, imaginary images, just to tell, this is what you are born. So what this means is, maybe when you talk about Virgo, the moon may be just crossing here, the moon may be crossing here somewhere when you are born. So that's what it means. So which means when moon in Virgo, when they talk about a nakshatra, you are that rashi, it means moon was traveling here when you were born. That's what simply it means. Now, if you look at the other pictures, so look at the Scorpius. Okay, how many of you seen Moana? Most of you might have seen, right? So that Mao is hook, right? Have you seen which part of it in the zodiac? You see the Scorpio, the tip, the tail. Can you connect that with Mao's hook? The hook will be, he will throw the hook, right? So that hook is nothing but that the final part of what we call Mula Nakshatram. And there will be also a scene where, Moana will start measuring about the sky. And then he talks about, no, you should keep it this way, all that, the sailors. Because when you are sailing, you don't have any compass at the time. So you have to look at the star. You should know how to read, how to, which star is rising. Are you going in the north, south? So that is how they identify. Okay. So a lot of things have been used here. Okay. So this is the actual Indian representation of the constellation. So I'll show you a little bit different, deeper. But if you look at here, you can see how they are structured. This is very different from Indian Western structure. Okay. So just realize that. And if you look at the nakshatra, people generally say the brighter nakshatra was chosen. It's not that way. So they have chosen nakshatras which are equal distance. So as per astrological construct, there is a framework already decided, and then they go and find out which nakshatras are on that grid. Imagine today with so much of technology, we are not able to locate which nakshatra is where and how much distance is between them. You see, if you look at all their construct, they were able to precisely identify, or nearest precision, they identified stars and marked the boundaries, because this is a framework on which they build the whole system, right? So this is if you take only Aries. This is a little bit for you to help you understand. So this is only the Mesha Rasi we talk about. If you take Mesha Rasi consists of Ashwini, Bharani, and Kritika. So one part of Kritika. So here you talk about two nakshatras. Ashwini is like double stars, right? So they call Ashwini Kumara. Ashwini Kumara means double star system. So even within Ashwini, the first star, if you zoom in, so there are called double stars, triple stars, 4-star systems. The stars go around each other, right? On any naked eye, you will not be able to figure it out, right? They talk about Ashwini Kumara, they define it so precisely that these stars go around each other, right? So you have to understand the level of depth of observation they had, when they come up with. And then this is like a 2-dimensional view, right? You're looking from left, right, X, Y, right? So if you put it behind, if you keep the Rasi like that, so if you look at the blue stars, they are not nearby. They are far distant. If you see here, this star is 58 light years. So this star is 204 light years. So they look closer from here, but the stars themselves are very, very different. And all the stars also move over a period of time. So if you look at the Indian framework, the whole background, right? We are talking about 25, 35 light years. The whole stars move on different directions. But still, even after 2000 years, if you observe, the distance between them remains pretty much same. What a marvelous observation they would have made, right? Yeah. So each of them has 2 stars? No, only this first star has a 2-star system. Yeah, that system you have to go look at it. I have given you the IP ID. So this is called HIP. Is ID identifier for every star in the modern catalog. You can go look at it, whether it's a single star, double star system, all of that. This is only to measure. They talk about it, they attach value, they talk about it looks like a horse face, all of that. So horse, when they say horse face, means they have identified horse, they have been able to domesticate the horse. So which time frame it will come from somewhere 2,500, 3,000 years before Common Era, which is before Christ. So it is knowledge after the time period, right? So that's how you connect with timelines. Now, okay. So now this is a common question you will find. So yeah, Earth is a planet, and you are talking about Earth, and then Sun is a star, all of that, right? The whole astrological framework is constructed from a geocentric view. I mean, whatever we are here, whatever we see, so we develop a coordinate system. It is on that. It's not about revolve around Earth. So when they talk about astrology, they don't talk about everything revolves around Earth. They talk about I am observing here from here, and then I see where it will come. So these are very different, thoughts. In nowhere in astrological text it is said that sun moves around the Earth. So they only say that we are looking at from here, and then this is where we are developing the coordinate system. Let me explain that part. Okay, so this is very important. So if you look at, this is basically you have Earth and Moon, and then you have Jupiter, right? And then we have different stars. Assume Sun is not there in the scene right now, right? So now I'm just putting the Sun here. So in the Sun inside, I have put a cross mark, plus mark. What it means is, okay, let me ask you a question. Do all the planets move around the Sun? Any other thoughts? Right? That's what we are told. That's what we are told, right? Okay. So when there is a gravitational pull, right? So Sun is part of a multi-body system where all the planets move around together with Sun. Sun is not the center of all the planets. Rather, all the planets move around. If you look at, there are some videos. If you look at, you will see how Sun is traveling in the galaxy. If you look at that, Sun will go, and around every planet will be in its own orbit at a different speed. They will go. So if you see, Sun itself will go around like this. So which means the plus is where the center of the gravity for all the whole solar system lies. So the planets don't revolve around Sun. Rather, they revolve around a center point that falls inside the Sun's mass. Is it clear? So because of this reason, we think Sun goes plane, right? Straight. It is a constant. Sun is the most constant planetary, by the way, in the astrological framework as well. But even then, they will tell Sun will go through minor differences in the speed, and all of that is captured in. That's the reason they also call Sun as graha. Graha means which is not fixed, which is variable in speed. Anything that is variable in speed in astrological framework is a graha. It is not planet. Graha is not equal to planet. Graha means uneven speed. That's what it means. If you use a technical term wrongly, it gives a different meaning altogether. It will go against times, but it is not the case here. Okay. So if you look at now this orbit, we know that, right? So Earth moves around in the orbit, right? Yeah. So the Sun also moves up and down, right? So it is the same or that is different? So there is if you go to Wikipedia, Sun over a period of time goes around up and down in south and north. I'm not talking about Sun moving up towards the northern hemisphere, southern, not that one. So rather, the whole system itself will be like, it will go like this, right? There is an image. No, that's a different one. That is the 8 formation is the season. The 8 formation is, yeah. So there another observation. When you every day you see where the sun rises and where the sun sets the evening. Now you can see that sun, you'll be able to see if you're south facing, you can see your sun on both sides. But if in the winter, if you see, for America, anybody living in America, our part of the world, the sun will always be on the southern side. That's why I say you should buy a south-facing house in America, especially if you are above the lines 23.5, because you will always have some sunlight coming to your house.
I understand that the sun is also moving, you said, but if the center of gravity is in the sun always, then is it not just another way of planets are essentially still moving around the sun?
They all go together like this. So it's like 5 people rotating around the center, all going in one direction.
So they're not revolving around the sun? Or
they revolve around the sun, but the center of gravity is falling inside the sun. If it is outside, sun will get out of the moon.
It never goes outside.
It never goes because it's so big. It's so big because the center is falling inside the sun. The whole system, if you look at sun's size compared to other planets, others are so small. Even Jupiter is very small compared to sun. Because sun is so huge, the center is sitting in the center, everything is going together. We talked about the gravity of the solar system, right? So sun is moving along with planets. So we are talking about a system, basically we're talking about the geocentric and heliocentric view. The system is designed from I was talking, it's designed from a geocentric. From Earth, we are seeing whatever we see, whatever is in the background, that's what we call the nakshatras, right? If you see from here, here on the background is where we talked about all the 12 zodiac, right? I'll come there. So this is how it will look like. From Earth, if you see sun, so what is the, on what zodiac background it is traveling, right? So if the sun is traveling from Aries, it is going to travel here in Gemini or whatever it is traveling. So that is where sun is located now. Similarly, from Earth point of view, you are looking at the moon. It is traveling here in Tula Rashi. So this is where your moon is located, moon sign, right? So just like as moon sign, every planet you can say sign. So Jupiter sign, Saturn sign, you can say that. Okay, that's how it works. Now, from this point of view, if you look at Earth is, when you say Earth, moon, sun is on this constellation, the opposite is where Earth is located. You have to understand that. So Earth is not, when we are putting Earth in the center and then seeing around the whole 360 degree, so Earth is on the opposite of sun. When somebody says sun is here, where is Earth located from heliocentric view? It is on the opposite side, it is located. Okay. So now I talked about images. I just put the star line, how it will look like. Now let us look at it a little bit from a contrast point of view. So this is a heliocentric view. Sun is in the center. There is an app called Cosmic Watch, like $5. You can buy it. You can play around with it. You can see which part, wherever you are there, where other planets are located. All of that you can see yourself. So if you look at from here, from a heliocentric view, from sun, you are looking wherever you have Earth on the back side, you have Scorpio there, right? If I just change the view from there, Mercury, if you see Mercury is in Gemini. In this view only, you will see Venus, Mercury, and Sun on different rashis. In Vedic or in geocentric view, all these planets will be sitting next to one rashis, two rashis together, right? Because they all go travel together, right? So we are talking about inner circle planets. So they all will look from Earth point of view, they will all look like moving closer. From heliocentric view, they can be anywhere. Okay, now just change the view. You're going geocentric view. You see the same, just putting the eyesight different. You see here Gemini, and if you look Mercury in Gemini, Mercury is in Gemini. Earlier we were looking at here Leo, right? And then if you see Sun is in Taurus. They will all go closer together. That's the idea. Okay, and then we talk about two grids in astrology. So one is the equatorial grid, where you keep the North Star at the pole and the height. You are in sun. That's how everybody says we are sun is center. I should look at from there. That is from astronomical perspective. Astrological perspective is opposite. We are taking a mirror view so that we can see higher planet, different point of view. And this
everything is geocentric.
Everything geocentric view.
All astrology is totally based on geocentric.
Geocentric view, yeah. Okay, and this also gives you a lot of variability in the data. If you talk from statistical point of view, geocentric view can give a lot of things like retrograde, all of that, which is not possible in heliocentric view. You will see a retrograde motion only in geocentric view. Nowhere it's possible in heliocentric view. And then we're talking about two grids. You talk about these two grids, equatorial grid and ecliptic grid. We generally talk about in astronomy. They will overlap only on equinox day. So equinox day, basically the spring equinox. So that is why it is very, very important in astronomy as well as astrology, because that defines the starting of the year. That is a time when both grids 0 degree will align on same point. So that is the basis for all we call Ayanamsha, all of that. So you have to
Hindu calendar acting here.
the calendar, this is when sun will be exactly traveling in the middle of the equator, right? So which means you will have equal day and equal night, and only on that day, sun will travel every rashi every at the same time, equal distance time, because we are dividing equally. Only on that at that day, it will equally travel on every rashi. So that's the basis. So because we are Earth is tilted, we are keeping it like this straight. So you will see when you see sun today, for example, sun will start here, it will go there, and it will set here. For all of us in Princeton, because we are 40 degree to the north, 23.5 is where sun maximum will hit. Now it is probably traveling in 2021. It's going towards south now. It's already started its Dakshinayana movement. So because of that, you will always see sun going farther and farther and farther every day. So you will see sun rising on a different spot. Here, sun will never come above your head. It will always be towards your south. So that is where you can sign, if you're lost somewhere, which direction you're looking at, look at sun, look at your shadow. So if the shadow is here, then which means you are looking at sun on the south. Then you know what is your left, is your east, right, west side. So if you look at here, these lines, different lines is where all the planets travel, like in the middle of the earth, right? So all the planets, if you draw a line, all of them go in a band. So because it is earth, we are looking at North Star, keeping that as a center, this will look like this. But if you draw a line from, you are looking in earth, you are looking keeping sun as the center, because we are the one revolving around, right? So we keep us as the base, correct us for the 0 degree, keeping, we may go move up and down within sun as well, but if we keep us as 0, then you get a different grid. So that is called ecliptic grid. Okay, so if you look at the ecliptic grid, and based on that you draw a line, different grid. Okay, so then you will see this view where you will see middle, all the rashis will be there, 12 rashis. So one thing you have to remember is this is the path. We talk about this path as the ecliptic path, ecliptic band, 12 degree, 6 degree above, 6 degree below. So this is where you will see most of the planets. The moment you see sun and moon, today you can see that in the evening when it's close to sunset, you can see both sun setting, you will see moon, right? And if it gets darker, you can imaginarily draw a line and then see where other planets could be located. When you get the app, try with that. You can see where after sunset, you will see the line, perfect line going through like this within a band, all the planets. So all the planets travel only here within the band, the center. Okay, that is very important. You need to know. Okay, so we know only 27 stars, right? Are there only 27 stars in system? 6,000 is the entire 180 degree plane. So, but we call 27 nakshatras. So if you look at 27 nakshatras, Ashwini, we saw 2 nakshatras here. Abhijit, they call. Abhijit is, okay. So for that matter, let me show you this since you brought it. So Abhijit is what you see there, right? You see the Abhijit on the top. So they call Abhijit Muhurtam, Abhijit location is controversial compared to Vedic text. Probably there is some misinterpretation. But Abhijit, is more like a star, but it's not used in the Dashabhukti system. So it's only used in only one Dashabhukti system. Okay. So when we talk about 27 stars, no, one star is not one star. We call Tara. Tara means multiple stars together is a system, because in some only few stars are like single stars. Others are collection of stars. We call them as nakshatra. Okay. So if you look at Ashwini 2, Bharani 3, so like that it will go. So that's one. Okay. Common misconception. People talk about snakes, Rahu, Ketu, all of that. What you have to understand is when we draw a line from sun's path, so that is what the yellow line we have. But if you look at moon in the earth axis, it is tilted by 5.5 degree. We are revolving around sun, but we have another planet which is revolving around us in a tilted angle, right? So if you draw an imaginary line of this moon's path with the sun's path, right, you will always have like 2 lines, opposite lines, which is called Rahu and Ketu. So this is just by looking at which Rashi sun is there, then you can see whether your moon will be above sun or it will go below sun. In some part of the some part of the month, moon will be above sun's path. In some part, it will be below sun's path. When it goes above sun's path, that is, it touched Rahu. When it goes below sun's path, it touched Ketu. Okay, so this is you can just observation you can see. If somebody asks you where will be today, where will be the moon path, will it be above or below, you can say that. So when it touches exactly 90 degree from here, right? We call, when in chart you look at it, Rahu and Chandra will be in Kendra 1,4 or 110, something like that. So that will be at the highest height in its path. Then it comes down. And then because the earth is also like wobbling, so the Rahu Ketu sometimes it goes back and forth. But we use something called average. So intersection of the two paths, imaginary points. And this, no. And this path also moves continuously. Okay, it's not like one point. So this goes where they intersect because of what we call, there are two things, phenomena, perigee, apogee, apogee, what we call, because of all of that. So the point itself in 18-year circle. That's why Rahu Ketu completes one full circle in 18 years. 18 and a half, yeah. I have a lot to cover. Okay, now anybody ask you a question, Western astronomer, anybody ask you, this is your answer. So if you look at moon's path, sun's path, what you have to understand is not all your 27 nakshatras are on the 12 rashis. Some are above, some are below. You will see the green ones is where moon will touch. It will pass through that rashi constellation. There are 84 here. This is a Mercator projection. The round one, we stretch it like that. So the big one, the one above, actually are smaller degrees. It looks like big. So the center one is clustered. So if you look at here, the path, this is moon's path. If you look at here, the dotted line, so that is where moon will touch. So the green one is sun's path. So within 5.5 degree band, you will see Rahu 180 degree exactly opposite to that would be Ketu. And if you see here, so this is what they call, they will say, you have Virgo, you have this, there is a constellation in which, you're not even considering, there are not 12 rashis, only basically 13 rashis, you're not doing all of that nonsense. But what they forget is, the stars are chosen on equal distance, so that wherever you have sun's path, that is what we call zodiac. Wherever, in some of them can be part of moon's path, some of them are not part of sun's path, sun or moon's path. They may be lying above or below. For example, if you take the Arcturus, Swathi Nakshatram Arcturus is one, that will be above that. So that you can see from this path. So anybody ask you, nakshatra, it's not 12 rashis, means not all of them has to be in the 27 nakshatra should be in the rashi, it can be above and below. So this is the actual presentation, it's been Tamil, but you can see Mesha, Rishabha, Miduna, so like that you see. Only few are like single stars, for example, Maga Nakshatram, Jayalalitha. Oh, yeah, good. Okay, we have Jayalalitha here. So this is Maga Nakshatram, single star, Chitra. Chitra is the core of like center of our all our calculation. We call Chitra Paksham. So based on Chitra only, we adjust all the planetary positions in Vedic system. And you will see some are like stars way above for Uttarata, Uttara, Bhadrapada, Purvabhadra. Those are like very way above zodiac. Moon will never touch those nakshatras. Moon will never touch Mool Nakshatra. But we still say Mool Nakshatra because moon may be traveling in the path within this band. So if you see two planets here, we keep Chitra as the center, and then we keep two planets, let's say Jupiter and Saturn, because they travel on different speeds. By the time Jupiter travels one full, Saturn crossing only fewer rashis. So this is the fundamental you have to understand. So moon will travel within this band only. The moon will not touch Ashwini, Bharani. Moon will touch Rohini sometimes. And then we call, when it touches, then Saturn can also travel anywhere here. Saturn, Moon, all they touch, Rohini, that's why they call Rohini Sagadabhetam. There is one particular time period when that happened. Now coming back to system, solar system, right? So why do we don't have Uranus, Neptune? That's a good question, right? People will ask, right? Indian system is a smaller system, doesn't have Uranus or Neptune or Pluto. But here, Western, you see, they will throw everything, including a plane that is traveling. Right? That's the level of detail they throw in. So when you throw in something, what you need to understand is you are throwing something into a system which is going to be part of the system, And then that has to represent each and every component of the system. It's not just like a one component, just for one prediction, you will throw something, take it out. Because there is a modeling carrying cost in any model. If you're putting something in ingredient to it, that ingredient you will use multiple times, minimal ingredients, maximum usage, and maximum outcome. There is also a purpose why you want to have a system of planets to decide, right? We'll come to that part. But here it will take 84 years to complete one circle in its radius. Neptune, 164 years. Never in your lifetime you will see a full Neptune cycle going around all the 12 rashis in your chart. That's one of the way we predict, right? Saturn returns, Jupiter returns, Saturn transit, all of that we talk about, right? We, at least in our other planets in our lifetime, we will see 3 or 4 times. Saturn 3 cycles, we are done. Jupiter 5 cycles, 6 cycles, like that, right? You will never see a full return of Uranus or Neptune. They move very slowly. They will not have vary between people born in multiple years. Why the point of carrying it? Coming to that part, Uranus, you can see with the naked eye very few times in a year. It gets retrograde, you can see that coming closer. And then you have to also understand different, not all the stars are at the same brightness level. Some stars you can see, some planets you can see. Uranus falls in the range of plus 6.5, plus 6.5 brightness, you can't see the object, naked eye. You need a telescope. Those days there were no telescope. Occasionally they might have seen, but because it comes and goes, they did not put in the system. And the Pluto you will never be able to see with naked eye. Neptune you won't be able to see with the naked eye. So when you can't see, how do you see where it is located, right? That's the point. So now this sometimes this is a very common term. People say retrograde, you have a Saturn retrograde, or in your chart you have too many planets retrograde and all of that, right? So what this means is, understand this chart on the left hand side. So you are looking from Earth point of view, and then whatever the planet you look on the back end, whatever you have, that is what is you're putting marking, right? So in this case, Earth, from Earth you are looking at Jupiter. Jupiter is traveling in Leo. See there, Earth is coming in between Sun and Jupiter. Similarly, if you look at Mercury, Mercury is coming in between Sun and Earth. So for something to get retrograde, so that planet or the planet that is getting retrograde should come in between Sun. So what do you see? The distance between Earth and Jupiter. Normally, in normal circles, the maximum it can go is on the other side, right? But if you see here, this is probably 5 astronomical units, very close. So when it comes close, you will see bright Jupiter. It will look big, it will look bright in the sky, outer planet. But the same thing, if it happens to Mercury, you won't see it bright. It will be retrograde, but you will not be able to see the planet itself. You understand the difference, right? Similarly, because in astrology, there are 4 types of forces they talk about: electromagnetic force, gravitational force, ether, all of that, right? So this is the only evidence you have that by gravitational pull, you can explain in astrology. That's why you will see retrograde planet anywhere written in your chart, like retrograde, that is the strongest planet because that travels close to Earth. Let's take the opposite end. They will write something like combusted planets in your chart, right? So what does it mean is, if you look from here, you're looking from geocentric view, Sun is here, and then you have Mercury farther from Earth, right? They are on the same degree, but Mercury is farther from Earth. The same case, Jupiter is farther from Earth. So which means this is not coming close to Earth. Its influence on Earth will be low compared to Sun. So in the model, what we say is, Sun will take all the benefit of Jupiter. That's what simply they will say. Able to relate it? Simple, right? How do you explain? Sun takes away everything. These planets get combust. These planets will not give good benefits. If this is the situation here in your chart, these planets will not give good benefit in your chart. So if this is a planet, like you have a Jupiter or any planet retrograde in your chart, which means that planet is the strongest planet in your chart. You like it or not, it will show its full purpose. Whatever it is supposed to assign to do, it will do full. It will delay, but it will do full. That's what it means. You able to follow? At the time of birth. Yeah. So you are somebody born with Jupiter retrograde means, so they will, what does it mean? Jupiter is associated with money, big time money, luxury, magnanimity, all of that. So somebody having a Jupiter, how do you give the interpretation? Retrograde. Any idea? So he will be very good in the knowledge related to money. So he will be an expert in handling money. Because he is so much of an expert in handling money, he won't spend money quickly, right? He will be a miser. He will accumulate money, he will not spend money, right? Okay, assuming Jupiter becomes, we call like seventh lord, or like that indicates you're a partner. If your partner seventh lord becomes retrograde in your chart, it means your husband won't spend money. Yeah. So there is a catalog of things where people associate these characteristics are attached to this planet. Let's say Saturn, right? Saturn retrograde. Saturn retrograde in Lagna, dreaded position. Dreaded position because you become a workaholic. I have a Saturn retrograde in my chart, and yeah, you become too much of an workaholic, and then you get things, but you don't enjoy because too much of Saturn you have. Because retrograde means it is sitting, too much. It's doing when every planet is moving at its own speed. What retrograde means is, from geocentric view, if you look at it, when every planet is moving, that planet will be going backward in degree. 200, 199, 198. Every planet will go 200, 210, 207, like that will go in the forward. When everybody is going forward, this will go because it is circling on a larger orbit. We are circling on a smaller orbit. So we go fast. That planet that planet is doing a coverage of a larger orbit. It is going at a very high speed. Compared to our speed, we are on a smaller circle coming around. That looks like low. If you look at a heliocentric view, it will always look like going in direct motion, right? So this variability, you will not get it if you do heliocentric. This is easy to explain, right? That's how it works. Okay, so now you got this, right? When sometimes it also indicates which lord is getting retrograde. If there are seventh lord retrograde, your husband will be not up to your expectation. Some places it assumes power. It is good for you. It is beneficial position. Some places it becomes weak. For example, somebody having Pisces ascendant, seventh lord, which is Mercury. Seventh lord, if it is sitting in its own house, it is very good. Seventh lord coming to your place, which is Mercury sitting in Pisces, and then it becomes retrograde. You have a very dreaded position. You will be difficult to handle the wife or husband, right? Because they will act mean. Because that is a spot where the Mercury gets weak. And then with retrograde, weak and retrograde, it is like adamant and not helpful in any way, bringing you down. It's like a dead weight on your leg. You can't move, right? So like that. That's how it is predicted. Yeah, that's how the interpretation part of it. So basically, you don't need too much complex things. You are basically assign a value, and wherever it goes and sits, you tell okay how it is going to be, right? Little bit of connections, you connect the dots. That's how it works. Now, okay, so this is where why Indian system is, again, it's not like saying this system is good or bad. So this system is a little bit more succinct system. If you look, yeah, I'm going to explain that part. So when you are born, right? So we have in the astrological model, we have planets up to Saturn, and then we additionally have Rahu Ketu, right? So if you look at this position, nowhere, no two people will be born with the same position, ever, period. Okay, so the moment somebody writes your chart, I can go back, trace the time when you were born, in any point in time, future or past. Only I need to know whether you are born in the past or if somebody is going to be born in the future. All the videos that talks about timing of even Mahabharata, Yuddha, or whatever, Ramayana, all that are based on this. They will say sun was here, this planet was there, and all of that. Okay, so this is very unique because we are able to explain with fewer variables. So this system is more elegant. We additionally have Rahu Ketu. I think I'm going a little bit over time. We'll quickly cover. Okay, so twins also have 3 minutes, 4 minutes difference in time. So because of that, we got, like in the dial, you see, right? You see, this is the what the second dial for you in 3 minute, hour, seconds, right? So this dial will move a little bit.
Even a second.
Yeah.
So
But that we never account that he was born at 5 o'clock.
What we say, most of the cases we have is, we have the closest approximate time now. Nowhere, and then again, the controversy will come, whether the head will coming out is the time, or do I cut the umbilical cord, is it the time, or is the time when the baby first make a breath. These are all difficult. So normally, when the head comes out, ideally you should do like umbilical cord cuts, clean the baby first breathes. So that's the time we take into account. But there are controversies, So what we have to say is, you have to be approximately correct than being exactly wrong. Okay, so get closer, that's
So
fine.
how many minutes can make a lot of difference?
So 2-3 minutes, yeah, so 3 minutes. Yeah, you have to somebody. So what normally we tell is, somebody will assign somebody just to keep a watch, keep a clock. So when the baby cries, just click the time. That's it. Normally these days people employ somebody to be there inside. They know, because so that nurses will come and report a different time, or doctor will tell a different time, or if the watch didn't work for him on the day, you're done. So normally in old days, people will wait, the father will wait outside the house, outside the room, and then the moment the baby cries, he will note the time. Okay, yeah, note the time, right? Okay. Okay, so different way of getting accurate, okay? 3-4 minutes are fine, you don't get, yeah, fine, it's closer is fine. Ideally, we want to get closer, but that's fine. Okay, I want to build a watch like this so that I can sell. This is my idea. Now coming back to, you see, in India, we call birthplace of Jyotish, because where something knowledge truly develops, that's where you will see more variability, right? Where it originates, that's why it has opportunities to branch out into different disciplines, different ways, schools of thoughts, all of that. So in India itself, if you travel across India, again, this is a knowledge, ancient knowledge shared across cultures. Different people perceive it differently with a different level of followers. You need a good amount of followers and practitioners so that the culture, the traditional knowledge will survive. So India might have had a huge number of people practicing it, so that we are able to still have some traces of it. I would say a good amount of it. Compared to other cultures, the knowledge might have been lost, because you need a lot of time. Sit and watch the sky, months together, foregoing all your sleep in the night. You have to see where the planets are moving. If I'm going to develop a system to predict where the planet will come after 2 years, then I need to sit and observe. I need to take a notes. I need to work out, right? So people on the daytime will be working, taking rest. In the nights, they would have spent time trying to understand the movement, right? That's how the knowledge develops. So because there were a lot of people involved in the traditional learning this knowledge, India, if you travel across, you will see 800 plus systems. Pretty much all families, but like cousin systems, all of that. There are two major schools, what we call Vedic. Vedic, we all attribute to Maharishi Parasara. The Parashara system is the most detailed system of astrology in India. It has its own hallmark, unique things, not very elaborate and unique things which you can't find in any other system. There are systems which are an abridged version. For example, we'll talk about the dimension and all, but if you take Nadi doesn't have like house system. It only has Rasi, it will have only planets. Then you predict, minimum. If you don't know the time, what should I do? Somebody's birth time, right? I only know the date. Then still I need to give somebody answer, means I need to play around with a system which is a minimal system. That's what we call Nadi system, right? Recent days, there are like Krishnamurti Padhati, all of that, a lot of new variations you will find. Those are like a branch of Vedic, taking part of it and giving predictions. Then you have, if you travel within states itself, they follow different systems. For Telugu system will be different. They follow a different Panchang. Then if you go to eastern part of the world, India, so you have different systems. These are like birth. Only Hora Sastra means birth-based predictions. What if somebody wants to ask a question, they don't have any clue, and then I need to give an answer, or somebody they're seeking for answer. For example, so you are planning to do an event. Will that event turn out good, right? Somebody asks you, I'm planning to do it. What will happen that day? So you have to tell whether that event will be good, will happen well, will not happen well, who will be obstructions for you. If it happens, what will happen? If it doesn't, what are the reasons? right? Then what you do is you take what we call the base system, and then you put an additional layer periphery on the periphery, so which is called additional set of dimensions. Basically, it gets too complex. You really get too complex, and then you try to connect the dots and say this is how likely it's going to be. A typical case would be a girl missing, absconding. What happened to the girl? Is she doing okay? Who did abducted her? Will she survive? Is she doing okay? This kind of questions will come. Then you have to looking at the question the moment question is asked. So which means the universe is telling you an answer for that. You do the calculations, you cast the chart, you find out the relationship, and you tell who might have taken her, or is she doing okay? Those kind of things. Yeah, it's based on the question. When the question is asked to the practitioner, and where I am there, based on my situation, the question is asked to me. So what I'm going to tell, I will put something called Arudam, Jamakod Arudam, so that can give you answers. Some people forget their family god. Who is my family god? Where should I, in generations we moved out. How do we find? That's a different system of Arudam. So Arudam means there is a question being asked. You look at from the clues around you, you calculate you put the chart, and then you have to look around for clues. Are you getting any words? Are you getting any signals coming to you to give you the answer? For example, when I'm talking, when I say, is the girl doing okay? Somebody say, Pochi, means gone, means then I have to tell, okay, this is related, I'm getting a clue here, then I will interpret it, that she's gone, like that. So this is one. The other system is like, it's a different variation. We call Punja Pakshi. Punja Pakshi is pretty much original Tamil system. So where we develop, there are 5 birds which indicate the time. For example, we have the, like a peacock, we have a crow. So all that 5 birds that differently owl. So these are like different energies, and then they go up and down, in energy. So when I know your name, then I can tell you on which part of the, for example, so you are coming to me, right? So I am trying to do something with you, right? Then if I know your name first letter is enough for me. The first letter is enough for me. And then 2 things what I will know is whether it is, we are in, are we moving towards Amavasya, or are we moving towards Paurnami? And then are we talking about a daytime, or are we talking about a nighttime? So then your energy levels, it's only based on sun, moon, these 5 birds situation. I will tell whether you will do on this part of the day, you will be on your high on energy, low on your energy. So then I can plan things for you, right? Imagine the depth people went to connect the energies and people how they will do all of that, right? So energy means, okay, so which means there will be a word saying that Achi. Achi means own, it is on own power, or it is sleeping. It will, there are different states, 5 states. It will be like sleep state. So when you are on sleep state, should not come and ask you anything in favor, because you are not fully powered on the time. If I'm going to work with you, if you are on a sleep mode, I can't come and work with you. Better avoid that discussion. Like that it will go. Okay.
Why is the place important?
Place is important because based on place you will find out the sunrise, what time the sun is rising, which part of the no because earth is tilted, the sunrise doesn't happen on the same. If you say latitude, it doesn't happen on the same latitude. It will be tilted, right? So northern part of the latitude, for example, you are on the northern part of India, southern part of India, northern part of India, same latitude will get sunlight first. Your sunrise time will be different, earlier than compared to someone in the south, right? So that's why the chart ascendant becomes very important. Okay. I am taking a lot of time. So this is one Vedic system. So we will cover this. So Vedic system, this is I talked about Parashara system, right? So this is the most detailed, elegant system. We talk about 3 dimensions. We talk about graha, planets, anything that is moving randomly to some extent. Then we talk about Rashi, the 12 zodiac. Then we have something called bhava. So bhava is based on ascendant. So where your ascendant falls, because that is a 10th variable in the model, right? because bhava, that ascendant moves every 4 minutes, it moves by 1 degree. That is the highly variable component of the modeling. Because ascendant moves fast, you are pegging everything on ascendant, your rest of the chart will change. In a 360-degree, your ascendant moves very fast. In 1 day, it completes 360-degree. In 1 day, moon completes only 12-degree, right? So highly variable part is your ascendant. So when you build a system based on ascendant, you keep wherever ascendant, that is the part of the zodiac that rises on the eastern horizon, that's why it becomes important. Every minute counts because the ascendant would have moved. Because you're keeping that as 0. If you move the 0 line here and there, it's a different story. Okay, I'll explain that part. Okay, so if you do that, you see when you go to your astrologer, technically he has to consider 10 by 12 by 12, which is 1440 combinations. So you got so many combinations, profiles to create. Within this profile, you will fit anywhere in this profile, in this maximum combinations only. Then for your profile, the predictions are unique. So basically, you are talking about 1440 unique combinations. Can somebody remember all of that? So you have to, that's why, you have to remember where it starts, what's the logic behind, then you get into the prediction part. Go into the detail, little more detail, how the system is scope, what is the scope of the system. So here, basically, we are taking the planetary position to give guidance, right? 12 rashis. You further break down into 27 nakshatras, and within nakshatra, you further break down into 4 padas. This is a simple LCM, we call least common multiple. So basically, the first division is male-female. Rashis divided into male-female, right? Two divisions. Then you call Sara, Stira, Ubhaya. There are three ways, it will move for speed of that. And then fourth one is Panjabhuta, we call sky, or you call the air, you call land, you call water sign, all the 4. So you got 2 combinations, you got 3 combinations, you got 4 combinations. Now, if you add these 3, what is the LCM number for it? 12. 2, 3, 4 LCM is 12. That's why you have 12 rashis. You can break any combinations into 12. That's why you have 12. Then if you go to 27, you got 12 plus 27. What is the least common multiple for them? 108. If you calculate, sit and calculate, you will do 108. That's why you have the 108 pada. So this is the granularity at which predictions can be done. For example, if you see the different color gradient, right? So these are the places where planets will give positive or negative results. Somewhere in negative, if a planet is sitting, for example, Saturn is sitting in your Adra 3rd pada, it is not a good placement. When the planet is giving its benefit, when it is running its period, it will give you relatively bad results. If it is sitting here, the green ones, for example, your ascendant itself falls in somewhere, anywhere in the green, right? For example, I have an ascendant that falls on here, which is basically you have Pushkara and Vargotama, right? So which means I will naturally have a lot of support for me. When I go, Pushkara means somebody carrying you. You are on a chariot, somebody carrying you. So if somewhere your ascendant falls here in any of the greens, naturally you get a lot of people support. If your ascendant falls in a negative spot, for example, right, Gandanda, Vargotama, it means it's bad effect multiplied many times. So similarly, we will see which planet falls where, and then we will tell whether even a bad planet can give you good results. Like that, even a good planet can go bad. Ascendant degree, where it falls, if it falls on Punarvasu, second for last part of Punarvasu, that's a good placement, like that. So this is one chart. Similarly, the whole framework is divided into 20 charts, 16 charts, 20 charts framework. I'll show you the other one. So we talked about components, right? Bhava, we call bhava. First bhava, second bhava, third bhava. First bhava is about you. Seventh bhava is about your spouse. Fourth bhava is about your mother. 10th bhava is about your mother-in-law. 9th bhava is about your father. For example, the way they do is, they take a planet, they take a rashi, they take a bhava. So what is the relationship? So for example, you have moon in Cancer, which is the own lord. So first lord in first house, first moon in Cancer. So that's how you connect a dot. Out of the 1440 combination, you give a prediction. So we talked about that's how you have house system we have. And then some houses are good. For example, if you have a planet sitting in the 8th house, that is running its period, it will give you bad results. If a planet is sitting in 4th house and running, it will give you a good result. 9th house planet will give a good result. 11th house, good results. 2nd house, good results. Like that, you will connect. There is a planet sitting in 6th, and there is another planet sitting in 8th, and there is another planet sitting in 3rd house. If these planets are combinedly running, the period will be worse period. So the way they do it is, this is the whole framework. Then they go, every calculation is mathematical. They do Shadbala, means, is the planet strong? How do I estimate the strength of the planet? How do I estimate strength of the planet in different charts? How do I get, there is an overall score. They put different scores. They come up with an overall scoring system. So we are talking about a system at least 2,500 years old or earlier, where they talk about all the modern principles of predictive algorithm. If you look at the weighted scoring system, all of that, how they transpose or how they translate into different pivotal points, calculate scores and all of that. This is not modern statistics. So this is an ancient knowledge system. Nobody talks about it this way. People don't even have a clue about it. That's what I want to tell you. Then that is about the divisional chart. I will show you a divisional chart. Then aspects, people say this planet is aspecting this planet. Guru Parve, Guru, like that, right? So they're all mathematical positions they calculate. So that is part of the Vedic system. Then they call yoga. People just get tempted by the name, they have yoga. Yoga means combination of two things. Planet, Rashi, planet, Bhava. So these are anywhere you have to put a planet within any of these. For example, Sun in Leo, so which is means Sun is in own house. So they call this is a yoga. Jupiter and Moon together, Kaja Kesari Yoga they call. So which means it's a good combination. Saturn and Rahu. This is not a good combination. Saturn and then you have Mars, not a good combination. Jupiter, Venus, good combination in most cases. Jupiter, Mercury, it's a different set of good combination. So like that, so any 2 or 3 combinations you can combine, you can come up with predictions, whether there's a good placement or not. So that's called yoga, right? And then they talk about what you call Dharma Karmadipati Yoga, Panja Maha Purusha Yoga. Panja Maha Purusha means there are 5 planets that gives this specific yoga, which means you are going to be an executor, you are going to be doing great things, you are supposed to, expected to do great things in your life, if that placement is there. So people having that yoga, not working on that, it means you have the potential. Then the performance have to come that point of time. If you perform, then you will go to great heights. That's what it means. Dharma Karmadipati Yoga. What it means is like you are born to do great things in life. People born with Dharma Karmadipati Yoga, what will do is anywhere they go, the luck will follow. The crowd will follow. We have few people in our family with Dharma Karmadipati Yoga. So when they go, the restaurant will be empty. The moment we go and sit and eat, a lot of people will come to the place. You can notice that. People with Dharma Karmadipati Yoga are the ones supposed to cut the ribbon for any shop. You bring somebody with Dharma Karmadipati Yoga and a good running period, ask them to open the shop will do well. Yeah, somebody like that. If the actress has a Dharma Karmadipati Yoga, that's great. Better, yeah, but that's how we say, So those are like good positions we are talking about. The last component of that, Dasha Bhukti. So Dasha Bhukti is another core component of Vedic system, which tells that normally people call something called Vimshottari Dasha. So everybody, they say Vimshottari period. So based on that, they will give predictions. Anywhere you go, every astrologer will talk about you are running this Dasha Bhukti system. This is good, this is not good. All that, you can do this, you cannot do this in this period. So this is how your life is looking forward. So what they talk about is, based on the moon's position, people can predict whether your life will be up or down during this period. General prediction, right? And then based on that, they're talking about only one system. There are 32 systems. Imagine the mathematical prowess of the sages. Okay, we only know about one to execute one, but they've built together 32 different systems for different occasions. So if you have this combination, use this system. This will give you better results. So somebody has gone through creation, testing, fine-tuning, and then giving that knowledge to us. But we use only one of that out of 32. So that's about the Bhukti system. So basically it gives you in this part of the time. So if you are born on this nakshatra on 3rd pada, 30 years, on 30th year, you will be running this period. So your life will be generally like this.
But it seems like all around mapping, right?
It seems like all of these are already well mapped out, so even though you're only in the process of where you're doing this app, you kind of go through all those maps and then it seems like it gets more predictive.
There is a general system which can be applied to everybody, so that's what everybody follows. But when you want a finer results, you have certain combinations in your chart. So this can be like janta, you can put for everybody, it will give you a decent result. Then if you have a specific combination in your chart, then the second system will kick in. Okay, stop there, use this one, you will get a better result, more refined one that will go like that. And sometimes there may be a tying candidate, 2-3 candidates. Out of that, there may be a best one. This is, you should choose. You have more options. Since there are not many practitioners looking at this way, only people with an average knowledge are the one who are currently dominating the space. All this knowledge is slowly fading away. Okay, this is all about Dasha Bhukti, right? People in the text, there is an argument that goes, okay, this is too complex. Tell me something simple. The student is asking the teacher. Then the teacher is coming up with a system completely different. He takes away, okay, you don't need to do 1440 combinations, do 120 combinations. So for 120 combinations, he develops and explains a system, which is a binary system, 1-0. So imagine binary system, all that is, we think it's a recent one, but this system is at least 3000 years old system. He takes about, okay, this position, take only Rasi, take only planet, leave the Bhava, and then come up with a system, binary system, right? So this will be like this. So that's a whole together a different subject, I would say. Okay, so that is that system. So this is one of the 20 views we talked about, right? So what you have to understand is they break it into different ways, components, put them together. All of them together will give you a full picture. No information is lost. You can tell pretty much about anything and everything about a person if you put the effort. Past, present, future, everything. Okay, so that's how it goes. Okay, current applications. Okay, so this is what we do. Common applications, like people generally come for life related matters, non-life related matters. Somebody ill, somebody born, somebody going through marriage, or somebody buying property. So these are one-person, one-to-one consultations. And then sometimes like one practitioner talking to multiple people. And then people come for muhurt. You know, if I'm starting something, I want to start in a good time. So what would be that? So people come for different occasions. Digging well, tonsuring, a marriage, you know, like buying a property, buying a house, starting a business. So when you start a business, typically you will look for dharma karma yoga that time. Will it do well? You know, will the business run well? For example, one more combination, when Saturn and Venus are together, if you run a business, start a business, that will be really good. Transit, yeah. Muhurtam is basically transit, right? You are choosing a time when something is planetary combinations will be like that. Many to one is like matrimony site. If a matrimony site really wants, they can find you a partner in 5 minutes. The best candidate in their database, they can find you in 5 minutes. None of the matrimony will do, because the more you stay in their matrimony site, more money for them. You can find, basically, that's what I'm talking about, one to many to one, right? So for example, if I'm going looking for a alliance, for a match, so I can take my horoscope details. If they have the system built correctly, I can look into all the entire database and I can find out the top girls for me. Then I don't need to spend so much of money on that. But they won't do. Already happened once. Okay. Oh, that I will come. Okay. Once you are committed, you have to manage that part of it, right? Yeah. So basically.
And you please with you for that's the question.
Okay, that is my personal question. I can't answer that. Okay, so if the seventh lord comes to your position, if it is not weak, retrograde is a strong planet.
It's not. Definitely.
Debilitated is weak. Debilitated and retrograde both can happen. So debilitated, retrograde, you are done. Basically, you have less hopes. So you have to manage, you know, don't, you know, you are carrying someone who is not worth carrying in your head. Basically, when a planet comes in, sits in your first house, right? What does it simple means? You are carrying that person in your head. You cannot get away with them. Anywhere you go, you will always think about that person. that relationship. For example, if your ninth lord comes in your sitting in your first house, that is an excellent position because you always think about your father, your fatherly figure, a teacher. You always give respect. The 12th lord comes and sits in your, you are always going to be in trouble. And then when the person comes, it is not debilitated. If it is a strongly placed, then you are good. You know, you are managing a good person. You are carrying a good person. If you have too many planets sitting in your first house, right, you should not get married to that person. Simply because he has too many commitments. So basically, first house, sitting a planet in first house is a commitment. You cannot get away with it. So if you have multiple planets sitting in your first house, which means that you will be running for all that relationships it indicates. 7th lord means you will run for wife. 5th lord means you will run for kids. 11th lord means you will run for your brother. 3rd lord sitting means you will run for your younger siblings. You should ideally have some 1 or 2 planets, good planets, position planets coming and sitting, or at least some planets aspecting that first house. That's what it means. If you don't have any planet, nothing is aspecting your first house, then you are a carefree person. You don't care for anybody, right? Simple, right? You see how I'm connecting, right? Basically, you have the dots. You just put them together and then give the interpretation. So then we talked about, right? Today, because there is a commercial interest, if really somebody wants to do a service, they can find matches. Okay, these are like common, everybody knows, right? Matrimony sites don't want to do it because they want to be in business. Otherwise, you get a first person, 5 minutes, your entire database will get, basically they are playing with a hide and seek game inside the platform. You have to go, they are not using it optimally, okay? And social, many, for example, if you're hiring somebody for an important role, somebody is contesting for president of United States, be careful with that person, if you know, at least choose the right person to be in the leader, or putting people together in a team. You are putting together some people, one person is having a Saturn retrograde, one person with, like very fast moving Mars, one person with exactly full retrograde Saturn. This guy will slow down. That guy will be running, hurrying up things. You are a debacle there. So like that, again, depends on the occasion. Optimization, I talked about resource optimization allocation, right? A leader should be chosen correctly with the correct team. Even a worse leader paired with the right people can do well. That's what we talk about. Health is one of the areas people don't explore with astrology much. And traditionally in Indian system, health was the major component where astrology was used. So that's about that one. And we push all our kids to standard set of education, right? Everybody, only computer science will make money, do this. But that person may be an artist. That person may have a hidden talent for different things. And then astrology can indicate what they are good at. So what I would suggest is early on you identify the talents of your kids and help them pursue what they are good at it, because some talents come naturally. For example, somebody with Mars and Venus together, they will be multi-talented. You can find that out. Somebody with Saturn and Rahu together, they can be a good hackers with aspected by Jupiter. No Jupiter aspects, they can be a criminal. Similarly, somebody with Rahu and Saturn together will not have a stability in job. You need to make sure you develop something that will give them long-term revenue, income. They will always be disturbed in job. Same thing, Rahu sitting with a retrograde Saturn, they will never lose a job. Normal Saturn, Rahu, dangerous. Retrograde Saturn, retrograde Rahu, good for job. They will never be fired. Somebody with a retrograde Saturn will never be fired because Saturn is strong. It is sitting close to Earth, right? They own the job. So like that, like it will go. So some of the patterns you can see in your kids and then help them find out, how do you prepare them for their life. Today, we all throw everybody to everything, same set of things. You can find your sweet spot and play on that. Okay, astrology. So this is something, my dream. I want to build a system where currently the limitation with is still very human, subject to error, takes significant amount of time. I cannot, for example, when I talked about 20 charts, I cannot read all the 20 charts in 5 minutes. I need significant amount of time. I have only certain data rate. I can only compose so much of information. But if we can develop something that can bring all that together, and then we can work with it. For example, how do I predict the future of a company with 1,000 employees. I know all their birth information. Together, they bring certain energy, right? Will the company survive? Will they do well? Who should be removed from the matrix? Who should be added there? And then where they are headed as a group. Today, there is no system, but this is something, again, it's a vision for me. I don't know whether it will come true, but at least people should, because you see the framework, right? Perfectly fits to any modern database framework. Probably on that note.
If you're finished, can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Questions. So first of all, thank you very much for taking time on a Sunday morning to educate the less models like us. Very, very informative. I've not seen a presentation like this.
Sorry, AOC have to be on row.
Where you talk about the mathematical aspects in that detail. I just have maybe one of the fundamental questions. So from what I'm hearing now, it seems like a very, and it's my sense that it's like predetermined, right? When you predict something, that means you know that this is the outcome at the end, right? So where does the law of karma and the fact that people evolve fit into all this?
That's a great question. So whatever it indicates is only about the potential part. A chart indicates a potential, right? Certain set of predictions indicate a larger collective knowledge of what is likely to happen in the period. You still have your will playing. You still have a role either to make it come true or you can try to overcome. For example, one of the recommendations I'm going to talk about is if you have what we call transitory Rahu Ketu traveling on your first and seventh house, because it will happen on both houses together, first and seventh house, it happens on your seventh lord or first lord, that means your marital relationship will be strained, right? What it means, you have, if you know that, either you can make the divorce happen or you can protect the marital relationship. How you protect? You have to yield, you have to give more time to the partner, you have to listen. Even when they go crazy, you accommodate because you want to save the relationship. The rule indicates that you will separate. But if you want to protect, one person has to back up, one person has to accommodate. Ideally both. If both people understand, they can accommodate. The karma part comes is whether you will do it or not. Right? You have option, but most people don't end up choosing the right path if they don't have the combinations, certain combinations in their chart. They still end up doing the bad thing.
This is where it gets massively confusing for me.
Okay, sorry.
I'm a very bad student of Bhagavad Gita. I'm like very, but from what I've read, at one point, Lord says that to Arjuna that it's decided, these guys are going to die. It's just if you don't shoot Arjuna, they're going to die anyway. So you might as well take the credit for it and kill them, right? So it was like predetermined. So did Arjuna actually have a choice? I don't know, right? That's one aspect. Second aspect is, in the entire Bhagavad Gita, I did not find any reference to astrology. So what was the question in my mind? I actually asked one astrologer, one guru like yourselves, once I met him. I asked him this question. I said, how does this work? But I'm curious to know your answer, and I'll tell you what he told me also.
Okay, excellent. So that's a very good question because Bhagavad Gita, if you talk about as a text and its inclusion in our society, and especially after the Hare Krishna movement they started like in the recent past, we have to see where the original text of Bhagavad Gita starts and then where it got integrated into Mahabharata. Right? If you understand that history, then you will realize that many of the teachings that we hear in Bhagavad Gita are more refined way, So what is the most ideal situation, ideal way of doing things being brought into the larger stream called Mahabharata? Right? You may disagree with me, but if you understand where they got into the system. So that's why I also want to talk about why I want to take out the religious part of it from this, because if you look at any of the things I talked so far, I did not talk about this is a very specific to Hindu or any other religion. So this is a common knowledge. Every human being, pretty much, if they follow in the same culture, again, the context is important. The family together in the setup, that's where it originated, right? If somebody is very similar to that, this whole teaching, the framework of astrology will fit to that. Coming to the teachings of Krishna, Bhagavata, those are all very lateral time. So they were introduced into the mainstream much later. But if you talk about astrological part of it, Rama, which is the earlier avatar of Krishna, right? The pre-air avatar, or whatever we call, right? So that happens around 7,400 before Christ. So they say Rama is good at astrology. So they talk about all of it, right? So when they have that kind of a knowledge system, the teachings are more, any of the Gita teachings are more towards how do you lead a fulfilling life, how do you face situations in life, very complex situations. For example, will you kill your teacher? Then you are forced to do, right? But if that is the only thing you have option, you have to go for it. That's what he says, right? You don't have option. If you are holding your ground on this value system, then that is what is you have to do it. So basically, Gita is not about what is right or wrong. So it is about among the right, what is the most righteous thing to do.
I'll try. I'm not sure. But I'll
Yeah, because Gita teachings, you won't find, because Gita is not an astrological text. Gita
there's no
is,
reference from what I've found. There's no reference to.
there is no reference because if you look at any of these texts, they don't talk about anything about God. They have talk about pariharam, they talk about, why, how do you manage all of that. But nowhere they will tell, change yourself. If you want to manage the situation, change yourself, look at it differently. That's what they will tell. Last resort, they will say, surrender yourself to God. Or keep, follow good principles, accepted principles, where you'll be more, you have a guardrail for you. You'll still be in the safer zone.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to, that's a very interesting question, and I'm absolutely no expert on Gita, but trying to take classes, but I want to follow up that and then ask you about parikaram. So the Gita, my understanding is that, yes, you are foreordained, there is karma, you're coming with your vasanas. And I think that's where perhaps this kind of astrology would fit in, because your sanchita karma, that you're bringing in certain inclination, vasanas. But then there's prarakta karma, and I think Krishna does say that it's in your hands to try to change things while you're here. You have come in with a baggage, but that's my take on it. But what I want to ask you is about parikaram. People give you parikaram and say you do this. Astrologists typically do.
Yeah, we do. Parikaram, okay. Parikaram is typically the last resort.
Is the
Last resort.
last resort.
Okay, so when somebody comes, let us approach it a little bit psychologically, right? Somebody comes to you, you are able to see problems now, past, and ahead. And the moment you expose it to them, putting it on the table, not everybody can digest it. And especially they know that the future is going to be bleak, right? Or, it's going to be like this for you. Nobody wants to hear, everybody wants to hear the hope, right? And many people want, only very people can seriously take the readings. They don't accept their mistakes, but they want the best outcome to happen, right? So this type of people make good candidates for pariharam specialists, okay? And normally we don't recommend pariharam for everybody, because some of the things you have to go through means you have to go through. If you are going to lose your job, you will lose a job. I can tell you some pariharam. I can give you some hope. Because if you don't have any hope, if you don't give any hope, I have seen people who are about to commit suicide sitting with me in a session. If I know, and then I'm seeing in the background that, I will give you an example. Somebody is coming sitting with a glass of poison next to him, and he borrowed some money. I didn't even know. He borrowed some money because I didn't give him time, and then he came and then sitting in a session. And then I look at the scene, I look at the chart. It says that this person is on serious trouble. Anytime he can do suicide. That's what it indicates. He has his moon traveling on what we call Mandi, and then he's sitting on the 8th house. He's running a bad period, about to die. He is coming and sitting. The first question I asked, are you planning to commit suicide very soon? I see things not looking good for you today. Ideally, we should have, we should consider you. You should take time. Take 3 months. Today more than anything, I don't want to give you any predictions. Today, you take a break, let things easy. Things will, in 3 months from now, 6 months from now, things are looking good for you. It says you are on a recovery path after a week. Why don't you give yourself time? That guy simply shows me a class like this. How would we, it was shocking for me because I am sitting in a session, somebody committing suicide after my session.
Someone 911 right away.
And I am recording the session. How would it be, right? So people come like that. Pariharam, in that case, I told him to do certain things. But typically, Pariharam, you can't run away with Pariharam with everything. Certain things you have to manage, you have to accommodate, you have to accept and move on. And very few cases, we recommend Pariharam. Mostly I tell Pariharam, asking the God for remedy. Then doing something, giving something. Certain things, for example, somebody has Punarbhu dosha, right? Punarbhu means Saturn and Moon together in any chart. Are there in the same star, similar star, opposite star, they're sitting in mutual position, all of that. Which means that person will be the fault finder in any situation. First one to find out fault. He is a QC person, right? If he takes up a QC role, he will do well. But everywhere in life, that person will end up finding faults. Simply when I come here, I tell, oh, this is not good. So people like me, right? So one of the pariharam for that means, we say in karma, basically in past lives, they did not give food to others. So what we give them is, when you give food, basically you are pouring your love on somebody. Giving food is the highest order of dharma, right? So we give food. Go give food, sattvic food to people, and wherever you get an opportunity, offer food. So this will help you overcome. Those are people early on in the life who do that. Typically what will happen is, in your marriage you will have confusion. Your marriage will not happen in time. Even when marriages happen, it will not be a happy marriage at that day. So to avoid, we just give the kind of remedies. Remedies are last resort. Sometimes early on they help you overcome by changing some of the behaviors. Okay.
So I did tell you that I'll tell you what the astrology
Yeah, please.
told me about it, and I'll just share that with you. He told me, maybe he was trying to get rid of me, but he told me that look, stars are part of a universe of the galaxy, and everything is controlled by the God or energy or whatever you want to call it based on our beliefs. He says most people find it difficult to connect with that energy. If you are able to connect with God or energy directly, you don't need to worry about stars and planets because it's that energy that controls the stars and the universe. But most people find it difficult to connect with that energy. So people try to find the easier route to try to, base their decisions on planets. For example, if you are able to connect with the Lord directly, so you don't need astrology. Maybe you are trying to get rid of me, I don't know. That's what he told me.
Okay, so that is a good way of looking at things, which means how do you connect with the next question comes, how do I connect with the stars? Right? This framework is a fixed framework. Anybody who is learning the rule, how to read it, how to predict, will come with the same result. When you get into the very subjective mode of connecting, or which is, because we need both a logical framework as well as a little bit of imagination framework, right? So when you connect, that is very open. You know, there is no definition of how you connect, what you connect, how it is going to work, how you are going to interact, all of that, right? That gets into a little bit of a subjective zone, and typically that kind of a recommendation is given for people who are not part of the family, society system. All the sadhus, they say for sadhus, none of the planetary positions will work because they are not part of the system. They don't rely on somebody to feed them, work on do the household things for them, right? Or they don't do any profit, business, all of that. So this system is more to do with in a society, within the framework, how do you live together, how do you work with the different people, all of that. So that's why the contextual meaning of this system is important. People attach a lot of religious things on top of this, but this system is not actually meant for that, honestly. This was my interpretation of the system. I may not have given you the right answer, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So, just relating to the same thing, right, what we are discussing, can karma alter the graha parts of the location?
Karma after?
Can karma alter the path through which the grahas
Okay,
are
so
moving?
this is like when we, so the karma, okay, if you want to step back and understand why we talk about good karma and bad karma. So the good karma is when you are living in a society. Karma means this is what you are doing. Some things have impact on you, things have impact on your family, things have impact on the larger society. So when your karma means you are doing something for making, basically karma is called the 10th house. 10th house is your job, your profession, where you make your living, which means where you are depending on the rest of the people to make the living. Right? So that is also the house of 10th house, karma sthan we call. Dharma is 9th house. Dharma is basically your teaching, basically the principles that drive you. Big principles is 9th house. Its outcome, the income from that is your 10th house. So when you are run on good principles to make your income, it is good karma. Right? Somebody having, that's what we call dharma, karma, Adhipati means 9th lord and the 10th lord. Together means they are meant to do good things. Bad karma means simply killing somebody, like for example, abortion without their knowledge, or simple acts of cruelty without knowing and unknowing, doing things and hurting others for still making money. Right? So those kind of things, when that happens, what as a framework we have done is use the astrological system to deter the people. Don't do this, it will come to your kids. Right? No way, otherwise as individuals we don't have any commitment to be the part of the society. We have our own wish. Right? But when we all come together, certain deterrents, certain guidances that runs beyond our lifetime is necessary to people keep in the order. You agree with me?
Yeah.
So all the karma theory, again it's my perception, karma theory is very important. Otherwise, you will see so much of confusion in the society. When people fear that there is a God, somebody is going to watch you, somebody is going to punish you in the next life, then you behave ourselves. If there is nobody to tell you that, there is no law. A society is not just built by law. So it is built by unwritten rules. So many unwritten rules we have. The more unwritten rules we have, it is a good society. The more bulky the law book we have, it is a bad society. Which means people can understand, sort it out among themselves without writing on book. That is very, very important for a civilized society. This all comes in a society where people can mutually give and take. That's why they bring the karma part of it. I don't know. You agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, this is for Ravi. So Ravi, AOC, you're interested? Okay, so this chart is like normally. I don't have his chart. I don't have his chart. Okay, so I don't have his chart. Okay, so this is an interesting case. Okay, so we'll talk about our great DT on the top. Okay, so this one, right? So if you look at Mars, okay, so Mars, right? So Mars is like a aggression, we associated with aggression, right? Somebody with the Mars in their Lagna. So that is, you see, right? Ascendant is the A's written, right? So this is the Leo, right? Somebody born with the Leo ascendant. So Leo ascendants are basically somebody a boss. Anybody who will be a boss or somebody a politician. Two people will make great politician. One is a Cancer ascendant, me, and Leo. So basically, these two ascendants are more prone or can make better leaders. A Cancer ascendant will make a caring leader. A Leo ascendant will make an authoritative leader. That's the style. Okay. So only these two planets will never go retrograde. Okay. Every planet will go retrograde. So which means these two people are less variable and compared to other ascendants. Okay. People keep the most variable person is Mercury. Somebody with Gemini ascendant, somebody with Virgo ascendant. So those two people are very eccentric, because if you look at the chart, the way the orbit of Mercury is the one which has the most deviated chart from the center of Sun. So it will go ups and downs very quickly. Okay, centrally, somebody, you know that person, you have to be careful with those ascendants. Okay. Virgo ascendant, you have somebody at home. Okay. So somebody with the ascendant in Mars, ascendant having a Mars, which means that person will be aggressive. Okay. Any stand he will take is aggressive. So Lagna Lord, where he sits, now you see, this Lagna Lord is Leo Sun. Sun is sitting in 10th house. So he is born to do great karma. Lagna Lord going to 10th house is, you are going to do great karma. You are given potential. But what happens? It goes with, sits next close to Rahu. Rahu is the bad guy. Okay. And what happens to your mind? Mind is associated with the moon. You see here, mind goes, this is the most debilitated house, which means weakest house for moon, and it gets further spoiled with Ketu. So he is born close to an eclipse. Okay, full moon and eclipse. Supposed to be a good position if it is no Rahu Ketu. Supposed to be a good position if it is a different Rashi they happening. But in this case, what happens? You have a highly, you get somebody who is very arrogant, who doesn't care, who doesn't think through a lot, who is confused. And Moon Ketu always gives a doubtful personality. Anywhere Moon joins with Rahu, aggressive, Ketu, confused personality. Yeah, they get scared because, somebody who is always scared will not make good decisions. You may have a strong 10th house is like Lagna Lord 10th house. 10th house is a good spot for Sun. It gets Digbala. You get into power, but your power is, right? So it's easy to understand a person, right? So coming back to our Elon Musk, but he has a combination of Rahu Mars. The Rahu Mars are typical hallmark of what we call a Hitler style management. They are very, they are unforgiving when it comes to, again, here Mars is sitting on an exalted position here. With Rahu, this is the raw power, uncontrolled power. If he gets bad, he can get really bad temper, he can really cause big damage. And what happens is this Mars also aspects something called Moon, 8th aspect. So it happens bad. Mind also goes wrong. He can be ruthless. He will not be perceived as nice. He is intelligent. He has Lagna Lord there. He is strongly positioned. Sun, he will come across like a powerful leader, but he can go ruthless. When he runs Mars, Rahu, Moon Dasa, it will be the deadliest part of his life, because he runs 3rd house, 8th house, assuming this data is correct. Okay. So right now Rahu is sitting here. Next year, Rahu will come here. 27, you will see him going down. Interesting, okay, that is one part, right? You look at the same person, his partner, NVIDIA partner. So he has Saturn, Ketu, Mercury. He has Mars and Rahu, opposite. Wherever he has Ketu, he has Mars and Rahu. Here, this Mars is good Mars, powerful Mars. So this Mars is powerless Mars, but it is also retrograde Mars, dangerous Mars. He can do bad things quickly compared to this guy. So when both of them are going to have Rahu Ketu here in 27, you will see stock market crashing on their stock. Okay, it is dangerous. So you will see these two, and this is also the time we are expecting AI to take big time. AGI. Everybody talks about AGI coming big time. This is the time you are also going to see the bad parts going to be played out for these days. You see here, Jupiter's son, very authoritative, he will come across nice, very bold, very respectful, all of that. But when the bad time comes, that is when it will show. When you put your team together, don't get wrong people together. They can bring you down. AOC, your special case. AOC, yesterday I showed you some chart, but that chart I did not get this correct. Earlier I thought she was ascendant here, but after calculating correctly, so she is having ascendant here. So she doesn't have, I take back some of my words on her predictions, like 9th, 10th, Dharma Karma Vidhi, not there. Okay, so when you have people on all the Kendra houses, right? We call it Kendra houses. So for somebody like Trump, let's take this chart, right? So he has 1, 4, 7 empty, 10 houses. You got 3 pillars covered with multiple planets sitting there. He got 5 planets in his Kendras, 3 Kendras covered. So what it means, he will make a great team effort. He will work with a lot of other people to get things done. He can't do things alone. For somebody to do things alone, your Lagna Lord should be in a trine, we call Trikona, not in Kendra. So anybody who is having your Lagna Lord in Kendra, you need a team. You won't do alone. That's a life lesson. Always work in teams. If you have a Lagna Lord sitting in your trine, you can be on your own. You don't need anybody else. Look at the election day, right? President election happened on that time. So Kamala Harris chart, you see that, right? Kamala Harris chart, I think that time is correct. Both have Jupiter in Taurus, right? You see, right? So both of them had a transitory Jupiter in Taurus that time. You see, for him, if you take Donald Trump, Sun, when Jupiter touches Sun, it gives you power. When Jupiter touches Jupiter, it gives you money. Transitory one. Okay? When Jupiter touches Saturn, it gives you job. Jupiter touches Rahu, it gives you health problem. In his case, that day, if you see, the Jupiter election day, 25 degree, is sitting on Sun, Rahu, 10th house. It gives you power that day, election day. What happened to same day on Kamala Harris, if you see that, Jupiter crossed Jupiter, there was no power involved there. It did not go in the 10th house, gives him the 12th house. 12th house is more of retirement, gracefully retiring. Okay, and then you see here, also on the same day, you see the moon here. He had Ketu there. Ketu going moon on that time, election date, just crossed Ketu, which means loss of hope. You are done. Election day. Elections are not fixed by, unlike in India, election dates that are not fixed by current person. They have like a November 1st week, whatever the Saturday or something like that, right? So it was not planned. Since they were in power, they could have done something about it. Okay, for this guy on the same day, the moment I saw the chart, because I normally don't do this type of charts and then I don't put in, the moment I saw the chart and I just saw 2 days previous, I decided, okay, she's gone. The day is not favorable for her. That's why the important muhurtams are very important. That day is not favorable for her. It was not her day. she would anyway should have lost. Things turned out that way, right? Yeah, so like that, so this is like, you can take a chart, you can see, put the current thing, and then you can see what is it. That comes to our closing slide. Okay, tip for you. You know your chart, okay? Spend some time to get at least where planets are sitting in your chart. If Rahu, Ketu are transiting in your first house or seventh house, pay time to your partner, give time to your partner, focus more on refining your relationship, more give and take, more give than take, adjust. Otherwise, you are a good candidate for divorce that time. Okay, so this is like a pitfall everybody should avoid. When it goes, sits on your first house, seventh house, pay attention to partner. Similarly, when Rahu or Ketu touches your seventh lord, for example, you have moon in some nakshatra, and then Rahu is going to take, for example, Sadabhisha nakshatra, Sadaya nakshatra. If you have moon in Sadaya nakshatra now, and then you are an ascendant of Leo ascendant, better be careful. Or Cancer ascendant, be careful, because it's going to touch your partner, planet or your planet. If it touches your partner will give trouble. If it touches you, you are going to create trouble in the marriage, right? So like that, because who will become shaky? Basically, Rahu Ketu coming is a snake coming to you. When a snake comes to you, what will you do? You become shaky. If you are quite calm, the snake will go over you.
Too many retrograde planets, if your kids have too many retrograde planets, they won't get ready for anything in time. Especially Lagna Lord retrograde, it's very difficult to convince them. They need a lot of energy pushed through. Okay? I'm also telling from personal experience. I have people with retrograde, when they have Lagna Lord retrograde, it is very difficult to get them on track to anything. You have to push. If you have too many retrograde planets, better you give way to them, because it's very difficult to change them. Right? Don't waste energy, because you cannot change them. Only they have to take their own sweet time, and they have to come to terms. The problem is they would have lost significant time realizing that they are slow. By the time life is gone. Right? So if you have a kid, somebody with a Lagna Lord retrograde or a lot of retrograde planets, give them the space, help them understand, because they delay things. Okay? And if you have a Rahu Mars combination, just like either Jensen or just like you have like Elon Musk or something like that. So what you have to do is they are more for perfection. There is nothing called perfection in this world. There is nothing called perfection. Everything is like closest we can get. They are more on perfection, they are more on time. If you give any promise, they expect you to deliver. So if you have such people or you have such combinations, better realize it's not going to help you, it's not going to help people working with you, living with you. Okay? I think on that note, I will end this slide.
Awesome.
Thank you.